Hello, welcome back to the Games Kingdom. My name's Carl King, and today, as you can see, we've got an unboxing with a difference. This is definitely one of the biggest, heaviest games that I've ever purchased. It's definitely the most expensive game I've ever purchased, and it's probably the most lavish game that I've seen in terms of buildings, production, and how they've finished them, because this is the Sundrop version of Foundations of Rome by Arcane Wonders. It was a Kickstarter. I believe this is the second printing of the game. They made one or two modifications to it, I believe, in the second printing. So we'll start by undoing the box, which, as you can see, is quite a size. And there we have it. So the inside of the box that you can see, you've got 5 sets of player trays. Everybody gets the same set of buildings in the game, and you get your own individual coloured player tray, and when you sort of bring them out, they're ready to play. And again, obviously you pack them up and they're ready to play for the next game. As I say, everybody gets the same sets of buildings. They've all got individual little markers that you put into slots on a particular part of the building, so that you can donate the player colour, because they're all finished the same in this Sundrop version. Obviously you can paint them. I am considering painting the rooftops to match the colours of the player colours, but after seeing how the Sundrop thing has come out, I'm not sure whether painting them would ruin how they look, because they look really nice. So without some sort of further ado, let's sort of have a look at what you get. So in this particular tray, you get all of your books and your tokens. So you've got your Foundations of Rome. This is the Roads of Fortune expansion. You've got a little card there. This is the main rulebook. Have a quick sort of flick through of some of the pages. So as you can see here, you know, the trays are all sort of set up with each player colour. The picture that they've done there, I believe, is a non-Sundropped version. So Sundropping is basically where they sort of do a undercoat, or a primer, so that you could potentially paint them just like you would normally do with buildings and figures, but then they put a wash over them. And we'll get one or two of the trays out in a bit, and we'll show you what they look like. It shows you obviously how to set up each of the sort of playing areas and what you get. There's different sides of the main game board, which is determined by player count, and you can play up to 5 players. And in this this is the Maximus, what they call the Maximus edition, which is the edition that you get the metal coins and you get the expansion already inside it. The one thing I was disappointed about, I bought this at retail, I missed the Kickstarter unfortunately, so this is why it cost me more. And also you don't get although there are some rules in the books that you get with it for an addition to the solo mode, you don't actually get the solo mode in this. And for the cost of the game and what they're selling the solo mode for, which is quite a reasonable price, sort of 15 to 20 pounds, they could have really put it into this, I think. It's just some cards and some extra sort of tokens and things, and I really think that for the cost, certainly this one cost in retail, the solo mode should have been included. So you've got the monuments expansion, so you can play with the monuments or without them. We'll have a look at those as well, because again, you know, they are very lavish miniatures. So we've got the book here, and then it goes into how you put these little tokens. So when I said they've got these little tokens that are coloured the same as the player trays, as you can see here, these little squares with the numbers and symbols on, that tells you bits about what the type of building that is and what sort of bonuses that gives you during and at the end of the game for things like victory points and or resources during the game. They are triggered by not necessarily and all the time the building itself, but also what buildings are next to your buildings. So you also obviously get to potentially put your own buildings next to your own buildings, and you can overbuild. So if you put one of the smaller buildings down, you can then overbuild. So for example, some of these take up single squares, some of them take up doubles, some take up sort of 2x2s or 4x4s, and there's some longer ones here and some bigger ones, and you can overbuild onto these. So you take the smaller ones off and then you can rebuild those smaller ones again during the game once they've come back off. These are the pictures of the monuments and a bit about what the monuments were actually for during the time that this is set, obviously during the height of the Roman Empire. And then you've got some nice pictures on the back. So this is your victory point and population tracker. So you get some sort of cubes and you put them in here, and then you obviously will track where your population is and how many victory points you've got at any particular point in the game. This is the board for the cards, and basically you deal cards out here, and these numbers here are the costs for the cards. So it's a you get to do one of 2 or 3 different actions on your turn, one of which these cards have got grid references on. We'll show you the map board in a minute, and basically when you buy the card, that gives you, you're buying that plot of land in that particular grid reference, so that you can then put your buildings on them. You don't obviously have to just have that one and put a single building down. You could wait and purchase several of them, and then when you've got them in the shape of a building, because not all of them are just singles or squares, whatever, some are L-shaped, you can then place your building down onto the board. But what you do is when you're buying these cards, you've got some markers that you put on the board to donate that you've bought that, and you've only got a set number of them, so you can't sort of buy up loads and loads and just sort of mess around with everybody. You've only got a limited number of those, I believe. So once you've got that, and if you start to accumulate them and you put them out on the board, you've got to start putting your buildings out to be able to buy new ones, because you can only do that if you've got some of the markers left to put them down on the numbers, grid reference numbers on the board when you purchase that particular card stroke plot. So this is the board itself, and as I say, it is double-sided. So this first side is when you're playing solo and I believe 1 to 2 players, and then on the back it is for your higher player count, sort of 3, 4 and 5. And as you can see, there's also different colours. So 3 would be here, 4 would be there, 5 is here, and if you've got all 5 players, you use all of those sort of numbered and lettered grid reference sort of plots, and then you put your markers into there as you get those cards, as I said earlier, and you've reserved that plot for you to put a building on at some point during the game. So you don't you can't just put it straight down. You buy the card, you put your marker on it, and then next turn, if you wanted to, that's when you would build your building. These are some additional sort of punched boards, stroke markers for one of the expansions that you get, called Will of the Consul. These are some stickers that will go onto the monuments tray at some point. And then this is the tray where you've got all of your cards. So as you can see, I've left the cards in the cellophane at the minute. This only arrived yesterday. These are those little markers that go into each of the buildings based on your player colour, and then there is a set, the black ones I believe are for the monuments themselves, and then you've got one in each of the 5 player colours. You've got some nice metal coins, so you've got a 3, and a 1. You also get some cardboard versions of those, so if you did run out you could use the cardboard ones as well. I haven't got them here, I've just sort of put them in a bag off to the side. You've got some individual markers stroke columns here which are for some of the expansions, I believe. You've got some additional little boards that you will use, and then under there are some more component trays that you can sort of stash away some of the bits and pieces, and you've got some tokens under here as well. But they've done the tray nicely. You get online, somebody has done a pictogram of how you can sort of put this all away. The cards slots will take sleeved cards. They are slightly bigger, as you can see that sort of wiggling about, so they will take sleeved cards, so I need to get some sleeves for these cards. And these are the cards that where you can see here the C4, so that would be, if you bought that, that would be for that particular plot. So if you bought that, you'd put one of your markers down and you would then own that particular plot of land for you to put buildings on. So this is your sort of plot stroke land deck, for want of a better phrase. And then the other cards are things like objectives, as you can see, and then there's different cards for some of the included expansions and sort of additional bits and pieces that they've given you, some extra things, some extra challenges, I believe they call them in the rule book, for you to attempt once you've sort of not so much mastered the base game, but once you've played the base game a few times. Some of these extra boards and bits and pieces will come into play, but initially you would just play with the 4 stroke 5 player colours, and you would just try and build Rome using those. And then once you've played a game or two, go into the monuments, or you know, if you're seasoned gamers, perhaps once you've read the rules, had a look at a couple of online videos, which is what the group that I'm sort of play regularly with, we tend to sort of have a look at it, and then we'll gauge whether we think that we can dive straight into sort of the whole thing. So we'll wait and see what they think for that. So let's get out one of the trays. So this is the monument, so we'll put those to one side up here for a mo, and we'll get out, this is one of the player trays, obviously the yellow colour, and they've got these very tight snap-on lids, as you can see here, and then you've got another set of lids for each of these so they don't go. So these things here are what you use to sort of put onto the board and use as your sort of plot markers. So as I say, you've got these, all of these buildings here, and everybody gets the same set of buildings. And as you can see, this is what I mean by the sort of Sundrop version. So you've got this sort of finish on them. It's almost like a wash. So it's been undercoated, and each of the different types of buildings are different colours, which is another reason why I was thinking I may do some painting, and I may not, because you've got 32 residential buildings. So you've got sort of these sort of residential buildings which are beige, then you've got the olive ones which are commercial, and then the grey ones are your civic buildings. And as I say, everybody gets the same set of buildings to sort of put out on to the board. We'll sort of see if we can rest that up there so you get a better sort of look at some of those. And then as you take them out, you will also see, let's turn this round because it looks like I had that upside down. So you can see there, it actually tells you what the building is and what the reward is. So, and that also is denoted by the little thing that you put in the top, as I showed you earlier. So it tells you the type of building that you're putting out. That's the Grand Insula. The one above it is the Foundry, and it also tells you if it's worth any victory points as well. So those symbols that are on here as well it will also give you, some of them are jeweled symbols. So this is the luxury garden. The one in the corner here is the fountain. This one again is the Grand Insula, or part of. What have we got here? Another foundry building. So as I say, you can overbuild these. You've got the Artisan Forum. We're just picking these at random, to be honest. Domus Maxima. So that would be, if you've seen things like Spartacus, the TV series, you've got things like the buildings where they would have trained the gladiators, not so much where they fought, but where they actually trained the gladiators. I think that's one of those buildings. So, and then as I say, when you pack them away, they all go neatly back in the tray, and you put this back on, and it's all nicely moulded, and that goes back onto there like that. And just so that you can see what I was saying, they're all the same. So you've got the same sets of buildings in each of the player colours. So again, here you've got those fountains, you've got the same building here, here, there, and these other items, the markers, they're all slightly different. Those things are different. You've got the different plot markers, they have got different colours, but they're also different moulds. So again, they've thought about that, because they're not just sort of, although they've done that with the buildings, all of your own sort of individual player colour donations on the board for things like the plot markers, they're all of a different sort of shape. So they represent like your own house, if you like, because as I say, you're trying to build the land. You're like an architect in Rome, trying to buy plots of land and then build onto those plots. So these are the monuments. We showed you these in the rule book earlier. It gives you a sort of little bit of a detail of what the monuments actually were in the sort of city of Rome. So I'll just sort of move that around a bit so you can hopefully see that on camera a little bit better. So what do we got? Again, this is my sort of first time, although I've sort of had a look at this, I've not taken any of these out of the trays to see what they're called. Oh, and in actual fact there's nothing underneath these ones, they're all plain. As you can see, the squares are plain. I don't want to tip this up too far and have them all sort of spill out and break, but I believe you put these stickers into these trays and that will show you where the things go back. So it's basically like that, and those stickers will also show obviously what you've got printed on the other trays. You've got those numbers and things underneath them. These will also be put into these trays and you stick them down, and that's something that they put in. So it seems a bit weird that they've done that printing for the player trays, but these monuments are just plain. The actual slots are plain, so you've got to peel those off and stick them down and try and get them sort of nice and flat and neat yourself. But they are, again, all very nicely done with that sort of Sundrop stroke wash. So I've done this before on some things personally, but to get them to come in, although again the cost of these, you know, the sort of upgraded version of this, so this is one of the larger ones, which will sort of show you a bit closer to camera. As you can see, they've been sun dropped and washed, so these are, as I say, sort of like what they would have represented the buildings in the city itself of Rome. You've got obviously things in there, you know, representing all sorts of things, and again they are colour coded, so they will be similar to what they were before. So you've got the beige for the residential things, the olive is the commercial, and the civic ones are the greys. But I'm not sure if you would class some of those as what they are here, but they're obviously done in the same colour scheme and the same wash scheme, so it sort of fits in and ties in, I assume. I have not sort of read the rule book through yet, so that's my sort of next thing when I get off camera, is to sort of sit through and read through this, and maybe even order myself a copy of the Gardens of Ceres solo expansion. There is one place it wasn't available from the actual Arcane Wonders site. Unfortunately, they'd sold out of that in the UK, or didn't have any of those left. This came from their UK fulfillment hub, which was Games Quest, and they were very helpful. Spoke to them a couple of times, and they managed to sort of sort out about sending this out, and they also upgraded the delivery service, how this was sent to me, which was very nice of them, so nice shout out for that. One of the nice times when somebody sort of goes a bit and above and beyond. But as I say, it was very expensive, so to have all of that, and as I say, to get charged UK VAT on what was already a very expensive game. I did have some sort of email conversations with the president of Arcane Wonders, who explained why they were doing it, and how a mix up at their end meant they were paying even more, and they were having to cover some of that cost for bringing in the retail bits into the UK. But when I did check the second printing, which I believe this did come from, it did actually say on the Kickstarter that UK VAT was included. So if they came over with all the Kickstarter sort of fulfillment, and these were ones that were left over because they sent extras in case, unfortunately, you know, sometimes things get damaged in transit because it is a big box, and they are you know, nice buildings, and you know, it wouldn't take a lot to damage them. So they always send extras just in case anybody then rings up and says, look, this has been damaged, and they can replace them. But then once that sort of fulfillment time has lapsed, and they've given a little bit of time for anybody to say they've got some damaged items, they then put those extras into retail. Now, the only ones they had were, I believe, 15 of this version, and 2 or 3 of the Emperor version, and the Emperor version is exactly the same as this, apart from the fact I don't believe it has the Fortunes, the Roads of Fortunes expansion with it, and everything that sort of comes with that. So this is the Maximus edition. Again, this was sort of like $30 more than the other one, and if you bought the Roads of Fortune thing on its own, it was $44. So when you work that back into sort of UK money, it works out, you know, maybe a 10 or 15 pound saving by buying the thing as this, the upgraded sort of top of the range one, if you like, because you can get these where there is no, they've even sort of Sundrop the underneath of some of these, or most of these buildings. So normally you would only do the outsides, but in the normal retail version, which they didn't have any going into retail, there wasn't any left, there's nothing on them, there's no undercoat, there's none of this Sundrop stuff. So then you just get to, if you want to, you spray them, but they are obviously of the same colour, the olive, the grey and the beige. They do come in those colours, but they don't have then the additional sort of finish on them. But certainly this looks really, really nice, and I think it's going to look superb as you build up the map stroke plots of land on the board. And I think it will look nicer at the higher player counts, because obviously you've got a bigger board to spread more buildings on, where at the lower player counts of say 2, 3 and maybe even singularly, the board is going to be so much smaller, probably even just the size of this, to put some of those buildings on. So you're not going to get as many of these very, very nice detailed finished off buildings onto some of those smaller boards, because there's simply not going to be that space to put them out there. And also I believe that some of the I don't know if you can put all of the buildings out, or whether you're restricted by some of the buildings that, because they're too big, you you certainly probably wouldn't want to play with the Monuments expansion if you're playing at the player count. But all in all, yeah, very pleased with the purchase. The cost was basically what it was if I wanted the game. There's not many of these going up for sale second hand. They've been delivered a few weeks stroke months now to backers. I don't think once people have got this, many people are selling it on, simply because it did cost quite a bit of money. I think even in the Kickstarter it was £230 for this particular version, sorry, $230. But not many people are selling it second hand, as I say. So if you want it, you need to get onto the Arcane web page, Arcane Wonders website page. You click on there. If you look on there, there's also a region change. Make sure that you change it to the UK or Europe, wherever you are, because it will then show you, although it still shows everything in dollars, it will say what the stock levels are. And obviously if you make a mistake and you order it from the USA, you'll get charged USA shipping to the UK or Europe. Now there are different ones available in Europe than there are in the UK, and I believe some of the unfinished, unpainted, unsundropped versions are available. I believe it's from Germany, but the problem was I could have ordered it from there, but the increased shipping, I might as well have spent and upgraded to this, which I did. So it was one of those sort of yin and yang situations. I could have got something where I could have painted it myself, or got this, and I'm glad that I went for this version, because A, it came from the UK, that's less travel, less chance of it being damaged, but also you get a nice finished product that potentially I won't need to do anything with. As I say, I was thinking of sort of painting some of the tops of those other buildings in the sort of yellows, the reds and the blues and things, but I think that perhaps now looking at it might look a bit too gaudy and a bit too much when you're putting it out there, because when you get to pack them up, you're going to pack up your own buildings. They're going to have the little things in here that I've got to go sit through and put all of those little tokens into the slots, and they will donate the colours and the owner of the building anyway. So even though they're all the same, you will have those little squares, and it will say it's a yellow or it's a blue or it's a purple, and it will say what that building is. And there are, as I said and showed you earlier, there are diagrams in the back of the rule book where you sort of push those little tokens in, and it tells you there on each of your trays, this is the building, that's the number you put in, and it shows you exactly what it is. It gives you the name of the building, it tells you how many of those buildings there are, if there's more than one. So some of them have got two, most of them are just one-offs, but so you've got the number of the building, and it also then shows you what of token you press in. And once they're in, apparently they are a bit of a devil to get out, so make sure that if you are going to paint your version, or you want to do anything with it, you do that before you push these in. Otherwise you're going to have to mask all of those off, and that's even more of a pain because they are very tiny. So there you have it. That is Foundations of Rome by Arcane Wonders. I'm thoroughly pleased with this, I must admit. We'll see how it plays, but I'm sure it's going to be a winner with our group. We love these sorts of games where you sort of you know, have area, it's almost like a bit of an area control, because you're buying up pieces of land, and you can sort of steal bits of land or take over bits of land and or buildings, I believe, in some of the little expansions and stroke additional rules that they give you in the book. I believe you can do that. So it will, you know, it's not just a sort of one stop, one shot where the rules are the rules and whatever. They've really gone to town and brought out several little sort of added little nuances and things that you can do in the game, that you can mix it up. So you could play this 2 or 3 times on the bounce and play completely different games. A, because different cards will come out, because you've got 3 what they call eras, 3 turns, where you're buying all the cards, and once a certain point has been reached, you then end that round, do some totting up, do some scoring, and then you move on to the next era, and each era has a set of cards, and you can buy different plots of land, I believe, and things in each of those eras. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, how that works, and how we get to sort of play this over the course of the next few sort of weeks and months. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting this to the table, and I say I may well do the deed and buy the solo expansion. So for me, this definitely receives the Games Kingdom Royal Seal of Approval, if just for the fact of what the game is. So the production, the trays are excellent. You know, they've done a cracking job with those. Everything fits in nicely. Everything's well protected. You know, they don't move about much. You know, this came on a courier, and there was no damage to the box. They handled it really nicely. But you know, for the actual sort of game itself, absolutely gets the Royal Seal of Approval from me. We'll see how that goes when we actually get to play it, but just by watching a few videos, which I did before taking the plunge and spending that considerable amount of money on the game, it does look a game that, as I say, myself and my friends are going to enjoy playing. So yeah, if you've liked this video and you want to see more, if you check out my other content at my YouTube channel, The Games Kingdom 811, please click and like this video, and it would be great if you would subscribe if you're not already a subscriber to the channel. I'm just shy of 200 subscribers at the minute. I was going to wait until I hit 250, but I think because I'm quite close, about sort of 18, 19 shy of 200, once I reach 200, I'm going to do another giveaway where I've got a board game, and I'm going to randomly select one of my channel subscribers and then send them a board game. So please leave a comment what you think to the look of the game. Obviously there's nothing in here about too much about gameplay, but just what you think to the sort of look of it, and the production value and that sort of thing. Leave a comment, click that like and subscribe button, and if you do leave a comment, please let me know if you've got a copy of this, what you think to it and how it plays. But also, more importantly, let me know where you are, so I know where my subscriber base is and where you're dotted around, you know, the sort of areas of the globe. And then also I'm on Facebook. I've got a Facebook page for the Games Kingdom, where I'll also put links to my videos as well, and then any other things from other people that I see that some gamers might like, I will put up there. I'm regularly doing these videos for sort of playthroughs and sort of video reviews and other stuff for people who send me their games and or accessories for me to do these reviews on. I'm also a reviewer for Everything Board Games magazine, so you can find some of my written reviews there, as well as some from other contributors to the online magazine. And also for Zartu Games, I'm one of their bloggers, so also do written reviews on there as well. So please check out my content online, click that like button, click the subscribe, and when we get to 200, you might be the lucky subscriber that's pulled out and will receive the next free game. And once we do get to that point and I send it out, I'll let everybody know what that game is. But until then, it's a bit of a sort of, I'm not sort of saying, but yeah, so until we do another one of these, it's bye for now.